Here's a country where you can't see the ocean from anywhere. Not 1 mile of coastline, surrounded on every single side by other landlocked nations. And yet for more than 1,000 years, this quiet place was the beating heart of the entire world's trade. This is where the Silk Road came together, where Chinese silk was traded for Roman gold, where turquoise domes rose out of the desert like something from a dream. And the strangest part, most Americans couldn't point to it on a map. But you use its gift every single day. Every time you unlock your phone, you're touching something invented by a man born right here. Hey, this is a place where an entire neighborhood cooks one giant pot of rice together, where you can glide through a glittering subway in the morning and sit beside a 1,000-year-old clay oven that same afternoon. A place ranked safer than the United States. Welcome to Uzbekistan, and let's start where every great story should. With the people who call it home. It's not the buildings, it's not even the food. It's the people, and their hospitality is legendary. I mean that literally. Uzbeks are a blend of Turkic and Persian roots, shaped by 1,000 years of travelers passing through. You'll see it in the clothing, dazzling ikat silk that shimmers, like it's made of light embroidered dopai caps, long chapin coats. But it's how they treat a stranger that stays with you. Here's the thing, in Uzbek culture, being a good host isn't just polite. People genuinely believe that welcoming a guest brings blessings into their own life. So a total stranger might get invited in for tea for a plate of plov with a smile. Trust me on this one, you will not go hungry in this country. And then there's the mahalla. Mahalla is a self-governing neighborhood community. Your street, basically. But organized, it's LED by respected elders called aksakols. That word literally means white beard. These elders settle disputes, organize weddings, keep the community together. And the heart of it all is the chai corner of the tea house, where green tea flows and everybody talks. Now, here's a number that surprised me. Uzbekistan ranks as one of the safest countries on the planet in a global Gallup survey on whether people feel safe walking at night. Uzbekistan came in 5th out of 135 countries, the United States. 35th, and over 98% of adults here can read and write. But here's what really gets me. Go back a few centuries to the old city of Bukhara, and you'd find mosques, synagogues, and Christian churches, all operating side by side. This was the tolerant capital of the Silk Road, because trade only works when everyone feels welcome. That spirit, it never really left. Now let's talk about food, and in Uzbekistan, one dish rules them all. Plov. Plov is rice, slow cooked with lamb or beef, carrots, onions, and spices, in a big cast iron pot called a kazan. Sounds simple, it is not. This dish is so central to the national identity that UNESCO officially recognized it as part of humanity's cultural heritage. Every town, every family has their own recipe. And here's a fun one. It's traditionally cooked by the men, and the styles change as you travel in Tashkent. They roast the ingredients first so it comes out rich and deep. Down in Samarkand, they layer it and steam it gently, keeping it lighter. Want the most photogenic plate in the country? Head to a spot in Tashkent called Besh Koksan, basically. A Plov cathedral, but Plov isn't just lunch. Here's what gets me. There's a tradition called morning Plov, where the whole neighborhood, the whole mahalla, cooks one enormous pot together to celebrate a wedding. Hundreds of people, one pot. One community, and that's really the whole country on a plate. Now from the food that brings people together to the city, that'll take your breath away. All right, my friend, this is the moment. This is what you came for. Picture yourself standing in the middle of an empty square just before dawn. The sky is going from black to deep blue. And in front of you, 3 massive buildings begin to glow, covered head to toe in turquoise and gold tile. This is the Registan of Samarkand. And I promise you, no photo does it justice. 3 madrasas, old Islamic colleges, frame this square, each one a masterpiece of 15th century architecture. The tile work is so intricate, so impossibly detailed. It looks like the buildings were carved out of the sky itself. Stand here long enough, and you feel small in the best possible way. But Samarkand doesn't stop there. There's Shai Zinda, an avenue of tombs. So beautifully tiled, it feels like walking through a jewelry box. There's the giant Bob Khanum Mosque. And there's the Gur-e-Amir, the resting place of Timur himself, crowned with a ribbed jade green dome. That, many say, directly inspired the Taj Mahal. And here's what makes the artistry so unique. When Timur conquered his empire, he brought the world's best craftsmen home to Samarkand. Persian masters teaching Uzbek apprentices, Chinese techniques blending with local ones. What came out of that fusion existed nowhere else on earth. Now here's the thing about Samarkand. It'll dazzle your eyes, but it wasn't just beautiful. It was brilliant, because the minds who rose from this city went on to change the entire world. Here's something that blew my mind. That thing you do 100 times a day. Googling, scrolling, unlocking apps. None of it works without a word invented right here. Meet Al-Khwarizmi. Born in this region over 1,000 years ago, he's the father of algebra. In fact, the word algebra comes straight from the title of his book. And his own name, Latinized, gave us another word you might have heard of: algorithm. Every search engine, every app, every piece of code running on your phone right now, it traces back to a scholar from this desert, but he wasn't alone. Not even close, near Bukhara, a man named Ibn Sina. You might know him as Avicenna. Wrote a medical encyclopedia, so far ahead of its time that European doctors used it for centuries. They call him the father of modern medicine. And then there's Ulugh Beg. Now here's a guy. He was actually a king grandson of the great conqueror Timur, but he cared more about the stars than the throne. He built an observatory in Samarkand back in the 1420s and measured the length of a year so precisely. He was off from the modern value by just a few seconds. No telescope, just genius. Speaking of Timur, here's a fun thread to pull. His descendants went on to found the Mughal Empire in India. And one of them, Shah Jahan, built a little something called the Taj Mahal. So the next time you see that famous white dome, remember its roots run right back to Uzbekistan, a patch of desert that helped light up human knowledge. That's the kind of place this is. Bukhara is old. I mean, really old, over 2,000 years of continuous life. And for centuries, this was one of the greatest centers of learning in the entire Islamic world. Scholars, poets, scientists, they all came here. Here's my favorite story from Bukhara. In the center of the old city stands the Kalyan Minaret, a tower, nearly 155 feet tall, built way back in 1127, when Genghis Khan swept through and destroyed almost everything in his path. He took one look at this tower and couldn't bring himself to knock it down. It was just too beautiful. So it still stands today exactly as it did. 9 centuries ago, wander the old town and you'll find Liaby House, an ancient pool ringed by mulberry trees and tea houses, where old men still sit and sip tea in the shade, exactly like their grandfathers did nearby covered bazaars, stretch on where merchants have haggled for 1,000 years. Run your hand along the cool stone of a caravan sarai wall, and you can almost hear the camel bells. And remember what I said about tolerance. This is the city where mosques, synagogues, and churches once thrived. Side by side, a rare thing then, and honestly, a rare thing now. Bukhara doesn't just show you history. It lets you walk right into it, and it doesn't feel like a museum. It feels alive. Ready for this, because our last Silk Road city might be the most surreal of all Kiev. They call its old town Kyzylkum, a walled-in city so perfectly preserved that people nickname it the museum under the sky. You walk through the gates, and it's amazes, minarets, mosques, old houses, mud brick walls, glowing sand gold in the sun, the showstopper, the Caltech miner. It's a fat, stubby tower wrapped entirely in glazed turquoise tile. It was meant to be the tallest minaret in the region, but the ruler died. Work stopped, and it was never finished. And somehow unfinished it became one of the most iconic sights in the whole country. Coming in across the flat desert, Khiva rises up like a mirage. A whole city frozen in time. You half expect a camel caravan to come around the corner. Now here's where it gets colorful, literally, because Uzbekistan didn't just trade on the Silk Road. It made some of the most beautiful things on it take locals call the Silk Version Atlas. The patterns are dyed onto the threads before weaving, so the designs come out soft and dreamy at the edges. They say it looks like clouds on fabric, and honestly, that's exactly right. Then there's Suzani, gorgeous hand embroidery, often stitched by women as part of a bride's dowry. There's the deep blue, rich tan ceramics. And here's a cool one. Samarkand is still famous for making paper. The ancient Silk Road Way, a craft that traveled here from China over 1,000 years ago, and a lot of these skills, they're passed down. Inside, a single mahalla, parent to child, generation after generation. Meet an old weaver here, and he can glance at a pattern and tell you exactly which village it came from. That's not a factory. That's memory woven into thread. Living history made by hand, but Uzbekistan doesn't only live in the past, it lives in 2 centuries at once. Now, if you really want to understand Uzbekistan today, here's what I do. Live one single day in 2 places, just a few hours apart, because this country holds 2 worlds at once. Start your morning in Tashkent. This is the biggest city in all of Central Asia, home to over 3 million people. And for the first time ever in 2025, more than half the country now lives in cities, and the Tashkent subway, it's a museum you can ride. After an earthquake flattened the city back in 1966, it was rebuilt from scratch, and every single station became a work of art. Chandeliers, mosaic tile, marble columns. The network's now grown to over 44 miles. They're even building a brand new green mega city nearby New Tashkent, designed for 2 million people, with a cultural center by a world-famous architect, and a stadium for the 2027 Under-20 World Cup. But here's what I love. Even in this futuristic city, they're keeping the mahalla, that old neighborhood system, built right into the design. Now drive a couple hours out. Suddenly you're in a kishlak, a village. Houses of packed clay courtyard walls. Narrow lanes that haven't changed much since medieval time. The most colorful ones sit down in the south, on the slopes of the Khiva Mountains. And out here, the mahalla isn't a design feature, it's life. When someone needs a house built or a wedding thrown, the whole village shows up, or they call it hashir. Everybody works together. In one mountain village called Sentob, named one of the world's best tourism villages, you can stay with a family, bake bread in a clay tandoor oven, and fall asleep to folk songs by the fire. So there it is. Glide through a gleaming subway at breakfast. Sit by a 1,000-year-old oven by dinner. 2 worlds. But the same beating heart here, your neighbor is family. But step beyond the villages and the land itself. We'll stop you in your tracks. Close your eyes for a second. Picture a sea of red sand, stretching all the way to the horizon and then far in the distance. Snow-capped mountains rising up out of nowhere, that's Uzbekistan. A land of extremes that shouldn't fit together, but somehow do. Here's the thing that gets me every time: Uzbekistan is one of only 2 countries on Earth, that's what geographers call double landlocked. That means it's surrounded entirely by other countries that also have no coast, the only other one, tiny Liechtenstein. So this nation, roughly a little bigger than California, sits right in the dead center of a continent. No sea for hundreds of miles, in any direction, and about 80% of it is desert. We're talking the Kyzylkum, the red sand, one of the largest deserts in all of Central Asia. But then you've got the Fergana Valley, tucked between mountain ranges, said to have the finest farmland and climate in all of Western Asia. And to the east, the Tian Shan, the heavenly mountains with peaks climbing over 15,000 feet. But here's what nobody tells you. This place gets over 300 days of sunshine a year. That deep blue sky. It's the reason every photo of those turquoise domes looks unreal. It's not a filter, it's just Uzbekistan's Sahara-style dunes on one side, Himalayan foothills on the other, Asia meeting Europe right in the middle. And in the rare green folds of all that emptiness lives a creature that came back from the very edge of extinction. Okay, next stop, and this one might surprise you. Because tucked between all that desert and all those cities, there's a story about an animal that almost disappeared forever. Picture the reed beds along the Amu Darya River at sunset. The light is golden, the water's still, and out of the tall grass, quietly, carefully steps a shape with antlers. This is the Bukhara deer. Now, this isn't your average deer. It's a cousin of the red deer, and it lives in something called tugai, these ribbon-thin riparian forests that hug the rivers. Think about that in a country that's 80% desert. These deer survive in the rare green oases threaded through the sand. The males grow these big sweeping antlers, and their coats shine a warm golden brown. But here's where it gets heavy, and then hopeful. By the end of the last century, the Bukhara deer had almost vanished. Habitat loss hunting. Their numbers crashed to just a few hundred animals. A few hundred. That's it, the whole subspecies was hanging by a thread. And then people fought back. Nature reserves like Badai Tugai were created. Rangers protected the forests. Slowly, year by year, the deer came back. And today, their numbers have climbed into the thousands. You know what makes this special? It's the same story as the country itself. Something that looked lost, finding its way home. And that endless desert it hides in. You haven't really seen Uzbekistan until you've spent a night out in it. Now let's get out into the wild, because a night in the Kyzylkum Desert is something you'll never forget. Imagine yourself on a camel, swaying across red dunes as the sun drops low. You arrive at a yurt camp around felt tents. The traditional nomad home right on the edge of Lake Adikol, the country's largest desert lake, where migrating birds gather by the thousands, and then night falls. And this is the payoff out here with zero light pollution. The stars come out like you've never seen them. The Milky Way pours across the whole sky, no filter, no telescope. Just you, a cup of tea, and the entire universe overhead. There's one more place out here that stops people cold. Up north lies Moynak, once a busy fishing port. Now sitting in the middle of dry land, its old ships resting quietly on the sand where a sea used to be. It's one of the most haunting, otherworldly sights on the planet. And today, there are efforts underway to plant new forests and bring life back to that land. Let's cool down for the second with something sweet. Because Uzbek melons are the stuff of legend, I'm serious. These melons have been famous across Central Asia for centuries, so prized that they were once sent to royal courts as gifts. Sweet, fragrant honey soft. On a hot day, a slice of Uzbek melon is life-changing. And then there's the tea. Remember the chaikhana, the tea house. This is where Uzbek life actually happens. Men gather on raised platforms. Green tea gets poured and the conversation flows for hours. No rush, no clock. Just tea and talk. And here's a small thing that says a lot. When your host pours your tea, they'll only fill the cup halfway. Sounds rude, right? It's the opposite. A half-full cup means come back for more, stay longer, keep talking. A full cup means you're being rushed out. Wander through a market like the Siab Bazaar in Samarkand, and your senses light up mountains of dried apricots. Walnuts, raisins, and spices piled high in every color you can imagine. The smell alone will stop you in your tracks. This is the Silk Road you can taste. Here's something most people don't expect from Uzbekistan mountains. Real ones with snow just under 2 hours from Tashkent. You hit Chimgan up in the foothills of the Tian Shan. In winter, it's a ski destination. In summer, it's hiking fresh air in green valleys. The perfect escape from the desert heat. Then there's the Narata Range, where you can trek village to village, staying in family homestays and spotting ancient rock carvings along the trail. And the lush Fergana Valley, that garden of orchards and craft towns. Tucked between the peaks, desert cities and snow-capped mountains all in one country. Sometimes all in a single day's drive. Not many places on earth can say that. Uzbekistan really does have it all. Music, dancing, colors everywhere. This is the Persian New Year, a spring festival, with roots older than Islam itself. Going all the way back to the Zoroastrians, and here's the heart of it. All across the country, neighbors gather to cook a special dish called sumalak, a sweet paste, made from sprouted wheat. But here's the thing. It has to be stirred continuously for 12 straight hours. So the whole community takes turns through the night. One person stirring, then the next, singing and telling stories until dawn. One pot all night. Together, that's Navruz in a nutshell. And honestly, that's Uzbekistan in a nutshell. Now let's get you ready to actually go. Right before we wrap up, here's the practical stuff you need to know first: when to go. The sweet spots are spring, March through May, which lands you right at Navruz. And fall, September through November. The weather's mild. Everything's blooming and the festivals are in full swing. Summer in the desert can roar past 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So pack for it, and if you love snow, winter opens up skiing at Chimgan. Now cost, and here's good news. Uzbekistan is a bargain. On a budget, you can get by on around $30 to $50 a day. Mid-range runs about $70 to $120 a good meal in the city. Is often just $7 to $12, and multi-day sightseeing passes run around $30 to $40. Getting between the big cities is easy too. The Afro-Sayob high-speed train zips you from Tashkent to Samarkand, to Bukhara in comfort visas. In 2026, it now has one of the most open visa policies in all of Central Asia. Many nationalities get 30 days visa-free, and travelers from the US can grab an Easy e-visa online. Just double-check the official government portal before you book, since rules keep improving. A few local tips. Take your shoes off when you enter a home. Eat with your right hand. Dress modestly at mosques. Book early during festival season. Navroz and the Silk and Spices Festival fill up fast. Carry some cash for the countryside and relax. Remember, this is one of the safest places you could possibly travel. All right, you've seen the domes, the desert, and the people. Let's bring it home. Uzbekistan blue domes rising out of the sand. The smell of Plov drifting on the wind. A whole neighborhood stirring one pot through the night. If you ever set foot here, you'll leave with something you can't quite put into words. Because Uzbekistan isn't just a destination, it's a reminder that the driest place on the map can turn out to be the warmest place on Earth.